we go. Penny, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, it's lovely to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
I love to kick off the show. I ask everyone on the show this question, Penny, and that is if you were at an intimate dinner party right now and sat next to a complete stranger and they asked you what you did for a living, what would you say?
I would say that I am a filmmaker and I'm also an energy healing practitioner and instructor.
Yeah, wow. And what would the reaction you normally get be? Because that's quite a combination.
Oh, and I'm also an author. I recently I did a book last year based on the documentary, and I did. This is an interesting thing. I did for years. For years, I was teaching One Light Healing Touch as it's an international energy healing school, and we're in the United States and in Germany. And then I began to see that people didn't really know how to connect the dots of how energy healing can really help their life, as opposed to just going to a conference and leaving it there. But how does it really affect our lives? How practical is it? So I
Mm,
decided to do the documentary, and then the documentary is so popular on Gaia that they also have it in German, French, and Spanish. It's one of the most popular programs. And then after I did the documentary a few years ago, the documentary is, I'll hold that up. So
please.
it's on Amazon as well. And and it has Bruce Lipton and Lynn McTaggart and Candace Pert and Hyla Cass and Kenneth Cohen, a world famous qigong master, and Gerald Epstein, who's a world expert in mental imagery. But I did the documentary, and it won so many awards. But I after I did the documentary, I got emails from people all over the world, and they said, the work that the documentary has so much information in it that they have to look at it again and again and again because it's so rich with
Yes.
information. So they said, please do a book, because then I could pour over and I could underline and so forth, because I wasn't thinking about doing a book. But when I got a number of those emails, I decided to do the book, which I did. Here's the book, and the book has gotten a number of awards, and
Wow.
they're both on Amazon. So the book is the same title, The Healing Field, and it's exceptional healing practices to change your life. And just a bottom line on the book, I want people, like kind of the work that you do, guys, about teaching people so that they can use these practices in their life. So the book has so many different kind of sound healing and qigong practices and mental imagery and energy practices. So whatever page people turn to in the book, they could find something, to do that day, and then another day find something else. So they can
Amazing.
have an endless resource of practical things. Because the huge thing that's changing in healthcare is, it used to be generations ago. It used to be when we were ill, we would we would go to the doctor, and we would think that they would plug it in. We would get a pill, we would get an operation, and they would do it for us. And the huge change in healthcare today is that we know now that self-care has to be at the top of this. This triangle has to be self-care at the top, and then the different modalities of diet and exercise and looking at your thoughts and looking at what you eat and looking at how you spend your time and looking at your sleep, looking at what you can do in your life. So it's looking at all of those things. And the last thing is the traditional kind of medicine, which is that, obviously if we break our legs, we need traditional medicine. And pardon me, we need Western healthcare, because they're excellent at that. But there's so much of what we are going through in our lives that are chronic conditions and anxiety and stresses and so many kinds of diseases that are chronic. And those chronic diseases really, really respond to self care. And it was interesting. I studied with Jerry Epstein, who's in the documentary and the book, and he's one of the leading experts in mental imagery, which is based on ancient Egyptian healing practices, actually, which is fascinating. And what they said long ago, which we teach also in One Light Healing Touch, is that the person really won't achieve much progress unless they take action themselves. It's not like going to an energy healer or a qigong master or a yoga class and doing it once and thinking, oh, everything is fine. You have to adopt a change of attitude, and you have to adopt a way of being so that you can bring that into your life and make and change the energetic pattern. Because what we know in One Light Healing Touch is that the body holds on, it's dense. So it's like we don't take one shower and think that we're going to be clean for the rest of our lives. It's something we do on a regular basis. And what we know with energy healing, with the traumas and the stresses being held deep in the body, that if you can learn to do these practices and also energy techniques on a regular basis, you will absolutely, absolutely change your energetic and release that programming and stress and blockages. You will release it. And what we know is that if you don't do it, those traumas and blockages and stresses will stay for decades, and to next lifetimes even. I mean, we work with people and we say, oh my God, that energetic that person is carrying has been with them a long, long time. So what's important is that a person can change the energy themselves. They have to do the practices. Healing techniques are the way to go. And just know that they have to adopt it as a way of being in their lives.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. It's so important, isn't it? We definitely get into the habit of, oh, let me just get that person and I'm going to lay down here and they can fix me. Where if we don't bring that intention behind it, like you say, and the change of attitude, it can be a struggle. I'm curious to as well for you to touch on, how would you describe the healing field to somebody? Because I hear many different interpretations. Even when we run workshops, we run half-day workshops around the country, and we ask people, "Are you familiar with quantum physics? Have you been exploring that?" And it's only a small percentage actually put their hand up. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of in my bubble here, thinking we all know about this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not so sure.
Well, I call it the healing field because of all of the things that we're doing with self-healing practices, sound work, breath work, movement, sacred ceremony, visualizations. They all affect our energy. And that energy that we then can experience and go through shifts, that energy that energy, well, let me back up a little bit. All human beings, we hold stresses and traumas and programming, and big traumas are like we go and we hold it deep in our body, deep. And most of the traumas that people hold are more around their heart and around their second chakra, which is the emotional and sexuality chakra. And the heart is all about loving yourself, loving others, loving the divine unconditionally. And those are our main areas where we hold blockages. And as we use the practices and the healing techniques to release those, what we bring in with the energy, with the electromagnetic and the magnetic from the earth, and this energy coming through us, and it radiates out because we're alive. This energy radiates out through all the chakras. As that energy radiates out, a person who is not holding the stresses and the traumas and the I can't do it, or I'm not good enough, or I'm angry, or I have this rage from my father that I keep holding on to, as whatever we're holding, this is the key. I'd love your listeners to know, whatever we're holding from ourselves, from our own traumas, or from energy that we brought in from our parents, there can be their stuff. And we might not even feel it. We might not even know it, but as energy they brought in. If your mother carried a sadness, if your father really carried, an anger, unspoken, we hold these energies into our bodies. And as you hold those energies, what happens with the electromagnetic energy coursing through us, that gets radiated out. And so look at what we're radiating out to our families, to our world. Are we radiating out love? Are we radiating out compassion and understanding? Or are we radiating out competition and judgment and anger? So that field that we're constantly radiating out is the alive field that's coming through human beings. And so when you want to change the energy that we're radiating, just look at yourself, not look at others, not look at what they did. look at what is the energy that you're holding, because whatever you're holding, you're radiating. It's like, sometimes I say, if you you go to a party sometime and you're feeling a certain way, and then in 1 minute later you're in the party and you're feeling really buoyant, it's because we match energy. Human beings, we all match energy. So something is buoyant and joyful, we're matching that. Or you're out with some friends, and there's a new person there, and you start feeling tireder and tireder and tireder, and then you get home and you're exhausted and you feel like you were with an energy vampire. And you were, because some people just suck energy and they don't even know they do it, but they just suck energy. So what you should know from that, what the takeaway all that is, that even though this energy field is unseen, it is absolutely, absolutely real, and it has an effect on us, has an effect on our minds, on our hearts, on our bodies, on our state of health. So what's really important is to begin to take care of shifting that energy. And there are certain people that, you can't help but be around. Sometimes you have a boss who's toxic, or you have a relative that you have to see at reunions and they're really, an angry person or something. So there's some people that we all have to be around, that we can't help but be around. But what you should do is, when you leave your work with that toxic boss, or when you leave that family reunion with that person who is very angry and putting out kind of judgmental anger, before you get home, sit in the car and do running energy, which you want me to show your audience later on. Just do a wonderful practice called running energy, where you release that. And the more you can make this a part of your life, running energy, we have a great other practice called the 6 positions, which is really wonderful. So we teach all these different kind of practices to help people to let go of the energy and come into their hearts and come into a state of wellness and peace.
Mm. Marvelous. Yeah, you said the key right there. Come back into our hearts, right?
Mm.
It's fascinating on my own journey, Penny. I was oblivious to this work, but then once I had a kind of a few little experiences with energy and thought, oh my God, I actually felt that. That was real. It was tangible. It gave me permission to get past my mind and really start to explore it. And once we have that embodied kind of reference point, it changes the game, I found.
Right. Well, let me just jump in there and say that all human beings can do energy healing.
Mm,
It's a part of how we're wired. We have electromagnetic energy coursing through us, and it pours out of us. And it's like when we're young and we fall and we trip and we hurt our knee, and we go over to our moms and they put their hands on our knee and it feels warm. And we know that there's something really wonderful about that. So what we teach in One Light Healing Touch is that it's kind of like chopsticks. We can all play in 5 minutes. But if you want to play Beethoven, you need practice, and you need a teacher. So that's kind of what we like to do with One Light Healing Touch. And we do our schools in person, and we do it via Zoom, to really teach people who want to learn, either for their own body, mind, and spirit. Maybe they don't want to do any energy healing work on other people. They just want their own healing.
mm,
Or I'd say 60% of the people who come to our work just want their own healing, body, mind, and spirit. They want to let go of whatever's in their way, and they want to help moving on. And why can't I release this stuff that I've been holding on to? And then I guess 30 or 40% want to learn how to become skilled healers, so they can learn that too. So it's really for both people. So it's anybody can be trained if it feels that it's something on your path, or you've always had hot hands, and you kind of love this work, then follow that call. Just
yeah, fantastic.
listen to your heart, follow that.
100%. A question for you. Having your own school, you would have obviously worked with a lot of people, and you would have, I would imagine, seen it all that can be seen. And I have no doubt as well, students that come to you would probably have things to address themselves in their own life, like you say, because they might feel stuck and they're ready to move on. Can you give us some examples of what you've seen through the years of people's, I don't, I mean, if healing's the
Yeah,
right word, or,
sure.
or
No,
the
no,
things
that's
that,
that's an excellent question. I mean, that's exactly that's exactly why I became an instructor, because I was a practitioner before. I learned One Light Healing Touch. I was just a practitioner. And then over the years, I began to see the incredible healings that people go through, and I decided to be an instructor so I could help others and learn the work. And one woman had fibromyalgia, which is really swelling of the arms from breast cancer treatments that the doctors say there's really nothing that you can do. Anyway, it completely went away by the third class. Another lady has asthma and fibromyalgia and asthma and depression. And again, it went away completely by the third class. Another lady, fibromyalgia, she had it for 10 years, and it went away completely by the end of the school. A woman came to the class last year, and she had breast cancer. Not a lot of breast cancer, but she had enough that they wanted to do a preventative mastectomy that they're beginning to do more of, and she didn't want that. So she came to our school, and then after she finished, she went for the mammogram, and she was completely clear. And every couple years, we'll have a woman who have breast cancer, and same story. It really, with all of the healing work, it really has disappeared. One lady, this is a crazy story. One lady came to our school one year. She was a lawyer. She worked in New York City, and she saw the logo of the hands. Do I have that hand? No, I don't have the logo, but the hands of One Light Healing Touch are Ron's hands, and they have an
Mm.
energy on them. And so people who are very psychic can feel the energy and say, "Oh, that I'm interested in that." So she came to the school, and it's one weekend a month for a period of months. And she came to the school, and we didn't really know why she came, but after about the fourth weekend, she said, "The reason I'm here is I have a friend who is in hospice, and she's been in a coma for quite a while. And every time I leave the school, I go and I stop down and I do the healing work. I practice on her what I've learned in the school, and I practice on her." And she said they called me yesterday, and she woke up and she was totally clear and clean, and she was at total recovery. I mean, that's one of the most amazing stories I've ever heard. But every
Wow.
year, there's students who will talk about a condition that they had, and then it's gone. So I hear it all the time. Or depression, or anxiety, or the simplest things. But the cancer, we really, there are many students we've had over the years who've had one kind of cancer or another, and then it has been able to the healing energy has been able to release it. So
It's incredible. Hey, it really is, and no wonder more and more people are leaning into this work. Like there's definitely a hunger for it. I feel now
yes,
that's
I think
happening
so.
out there. Yeah, I actually remember interviewing Lynn McTaggart because I know she's in the documentary, and she spoke of a lady. I don't know if she mentioned this in the documentary, but she ran a group intention healing to a class, and a lady got up out of her wheelchair after that in the audience,
Oh,
and she was
wonderful.
dumbfounded. Yeah, she
Wonderful.
couldn't believe it.
Wonderful. My husband, Ron Lavin, who's the founder of One Light Healing Touch, he had a client recently, and she was a mom, and she's a nurse, and she lives in this area. And she had a little daughter who has some kind of neurological condition. A little daughter, like, 18 months old. She had a neurological condition, and she couldn't stand upright. She was always wobbling. And the neurologist didn't know what was wrong, but maybe it would work its way out. Who knows? Anyway, she came to a session with Ron, and Ron lay the woman down on the table and put the daughter on top so she would feel the safety of being with her mom. And then he did a healing on her, on the little daughter. And they went back to the neurologist the next week, and she could walk completely straight. So
Wow.
whatever neurological issues she had, that just got straightened out. So yeah, it's quite
Yeah,
amazing.
it's incredible, isn't it?
Yes.
I'm curious to know, Penny, how did you get into this? Like, because you were in media, if I'm not mistaken, and and from what I see, I actually don't watch the media, to be honest with you now. But from what I see, we don't talk about this work much in the media. So I'm fascinated. How did your transition go from media to this, or that aspect of your life?
Well, since I've been a child, my path has always been both media and healing work. When I was a child, I had a little local newspaper with a girlfriend, and we would write our little stories, and our parents would buy our little newspaper. So I was always interested. And later, in my later years, when I was a teenager, I had a byline in a local paper in Philadelphia. So I was always really interested in media and communicating. And then when I was 11 years old, my girlfriend said her father was in the hospital and he had a heart attack. And she knew I had an ability to be very psychic. And she said, "Can you do something?" So I closed my eyes and I just imagined him in the hospital room and the bed and the dresser and the window. And I just saw what I saw. And then I just would I brought in certain colors, but I didn't know why. When you're a child, you have this world of imagination. And
Mm.
I just brought in certain colors for like 10 minutes and I held the energy and I just stayed with it. And after about 10 minutes, it really felt right to release the energy. And so she told me the next day he was so much recovered, almost completely. And she said, "What did you do?" And then I told her what I saw in the room and so forth. And she was dumbfounded because she said that was exactly the description of the room. And it was at that moment that I realized that I had that ability to go into another level of reality that I didn't really know, but I knew that
Mm.
I did. And then after that point, I just began doing color healing when when I had sick pets or sick relatives, and I would just imagine doing color healing. And years later in Los Angeles, there was a very famous psychic who came to Los Angeles, and they were channeling the goddess from Egypt, Isis. And I began communicating with this very strange, fascinating person. And she said, "Oh, that I had been a priestess in her temple many lifetimes, and we used to do a lot of color healing." So
Wow.
what I know, so it came with me in this lifetime. And so what I know is like when I teach students and there's an ability that they have or their children have, writing or music or something at a young age, then I know, well, that just came through with them and to honor it. So sometimes these abilities that we have are so um, we so love that path that it comes through and it comes through with us. So it was always healing and it was always media. And then I was doing I was working for a talk show in New York, and I did so many programs on meditation and people had gone to Medjugorje and angels and mental imagery, and I did as well as very investigative news pieces, but I also did body, mind, and spirit. So I combined them both, and I got a number of awards for both programs and it was a national program. So, after 7 years working in New York, I then started my own production company, and I just began doing my documentaries that I love. And then
Ah.
I did my documentaries, and I also became a practitioner with One Light Healing Touch. And then I said, "Oh, I've got to teach this because I see how it benefits people, and if I could help bring this light and healing and experience to people so that it could benefit others." So I basically did both. So it's always been the same. It's always been media and energy healing all through my life.
Yeah, wow. That's quite a journey. And it's incredible, like because I'm always in admiration. Anyone that's written a book or done a documentary, and really putting them, you have to be passionate about this stuff to go, I'm going to do this because it's not like it's no easy task, I'm sure, even if you are working in media. When did you decide to make the healing field, and did you always know that movie was going to be about that, or was it something that kind of started to take shape as you were making the film?
When I was teaching I was a practitioner with One Light Healing Touch in the 90s. And then I
Right,
became an instructor with One Light Healing Touch in 2006. So I've been teaching every year since then.
right.
And it was around 2013 or 14, I guess. And I saw some documentaries on this field, and like The Living Matrix, I think, was one of them. And I saw that it had a piece of it, but it didn't have the other pieces. And I said, people need to understand how it all fits together. And then it was just a call of my heart that I needed to be able to find the best, the best people in the field, from Lynn McTaggart and Beverly Rubik and Jerry Epstein, the best people in the field that could help communicate this, so I could bring this to the larger audience. That was my goal. It's always been to bring the information out so it could benefit others' lives and help others and help bring in healing and light in their lives and in their communities.
Yeah, beautiful. A question that occurred to me with all this as well, because you speak about your partner Ron Dealey as well, and you guys are doing this, and you're both healers, which is quite a unique situation to be in a relationship. And I'd be interested to think about what advice or you'd give to other people in relationships out there, because I'm very fortunate. My wife is very supportive of me, and we're on the journey together. But quite often, people come in, it's like, I can't get through with my partner. He's just not wanting to look at this. I'm desperate to learn more. And there always seems to be like a bit of incoherence, let's say, when it comes to the relationships and that. What have you found over the years, and what advice would you pass on?
I think that's an excellent question. And every year when people are in relation and people come to the classes, they say, my husband's supportive, my wife's supportive, or they're not, whatever.
Hmm.
But what we know is that one of the greatest teachings we have in our lives is relationships. Because when we do something, if we do something that is unconscious or unaware, or, we all do stupid things, if we're lucky enough to have a person to call us on it so that we can learn and grow, then we can learn and grow so that we can heal that part of ourselves that was a bit unconscious or was a bit too tired, that wasn't aware of our environment. If we are not, it always depends on us. If we hold back, I say all the time to my students, always be truthful, but always be kind.
Hmm.
Because unless you're truthful to your partner, they're not going to learn. How are they going to learn that they do something about whatever that they did that you don't like? How are they going to learn if you don't speak? And so many times people hold things back because they want to be nice and they don't want to rock the boat and all of that. But in doing that, they're holding this back and they're not benefiting their partner with how they're feeling when that is being said, or was unkind or just thoughtless. Human beings, we do all kinds of things. So the important part is always be kind, because you don't want to incur karma. You don't want to go ballistic, because then you just incur karma. So you always want to find the kind way of speaking, but you must tell the truth. If you don't tell the truth and you hold it back, then what you're doing is you're holding this back in the throat chakra, which is communication and creativity. And you can get blockages there. You hold it back and you have sore throats, or you get thyroids, whatever. If you're holding it back and you're not speaking it, you're the one who's holding it inside. And your partner's not learning anything. So it's really important to speak up. It's really important to tell the truth.
Okay, we're back. Sorry, but everything just shut off. We
I
can
know it shut off. And I have something that I'd love to add about relationships. Can I do that now?
please,
Okay.
yes.
So we can only take care of ourselves. It's really hard to change another person. It's really hard to change ourselves, much less change another person. But if you take responsibility for yourself and your own stuff and your own anger and your own sadness and your own health, and getting those things in balance, if you can take responsibility for that and do whatever you can to change that energy, then your partner has some choices. They can pretend the change in you is not real. They can just pretend it's not there. They can be afraid of it and step away, or They can feel this shift of energy that you're experiencing, and then they can step up and join you. So it's their choice, but you have to be responsible for what you're experiencing and your truth, because all we have in our lives is our time and our energy. And if we spend our time and our energy not doing what we know is good for us or for our families or for our communities, it's gone. So we have to really take care. And one of the great things now with COVID is that people are realizing that life is fragile. It's much more
Mm.
fragile than what people think. We all think we're invincible, we're young, we're strong, we're invincible. And now more and more people are seeing that no, we're not invincible. We really have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of our communities. So partly there's a whole shift of towards self-responsibility. And I think also a shift towards giving to other people and towards sharing, compassion towards other people. I think that is a shift that people are going to see more and more of.
Absolutely. I love it. Responsibility, truth, and kindness. They all go hand in hand. And like you say, like I found as I explored the work more in my own life, and you start having more compassion for yourself and empathy, you can that then translates, and then you start to really see that in other people, which I think is where the magic starts to happen as well. I'm curious as well. I just want to mention this quickly because it was on my show notes because we're still in the relationships where you were on. It mentioned about how you guys found your house.
Oh,
Is that
yeah. So in I think 2006, he got a message in meditation that we needed to sell our house and move south a bit and rent and not buy. And I didn't want to hear that at all because I was doing a documentary and I was doing my school. I was doing a documentary on Helen Keller that won so many. It was the spiritual life of Helen Keller, no less. And it won many, many awards, and it was on public television here in the United States. So, moving is hard. It's a lot of energy. I didn't want to hear it. So I meditated and I asked, which is what we teach our students, when you have a question, get quiet and meditate. And at the end, when you're clear, then ask. So I did, and I got a huge yes. And then a couple of days later, same question, same answer, same thing a couple of days later. Okay, so I did it 3 times. So I said, okay. So Ron, I told my husband that I got the yes as well. And then he began looking for a house to rent because Spirit was very clear to rent and not buy. So this was months later when we were almost ready to move the following month and we still hadn't found a house. And I was guiding my students and looking for a vision. And the vision that I was asking for was show me the house. And I saw this vision and I drew it, like we teach our students to draw the vision. And I was drawing the vision. And then the realtor called and said, there's this new house, and we went to see it, and that was the vision. And we moved, very shortly after that. But the next year was when the crash happened. So we were
of course.
totally, totally protected. We bought our house when the market was just beginning to go up. We sold it when it was at the height, not of anything intellectual, just inner guidance. And so when the when the mover said, well, where are you moving? They had never heard what we were saying. We said, oh, it's there on the map. And they said, what? What's your street address? And we said, oh, it's right in this area on the map, because we knew about where it was. So that was a very cool story. And when we found it, it was perfect. And so we stayed renting for a little while. And then in 2012, we really got that the market had settled in, and then we bought where we are now. So, you can't make this up. And we would never have foreseen that the crash in 2008, who would have seen that the whole market all over the world would have crashed the way it did. But when you follow inner guidance, and I want to tell all your listeners this, and I know you know this too, when you follow inner guidance, don't worry about it making sense, because it didn't make any sense to us because we left this beautiful house we were living in. So don't worry about making sense, because if you get it and you really get a yes, not a maybe, but if you really get a yes, follow it. Because we say to our students, when in doubt, pass. If it's a doubt, let it go. If
Mm.
it's a yes, follow it.
Love it. Love it. Another side effects of once you start clear and have and and become more aware of the intuitive side of us, isn't it? It's really becomes a compass.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
And we say, if it's a maybe, let it go. And there's lots of maybe things out there that are shiny. Do this and do this and do this and all those shiny things.
Mm.
But if they're not on your path, all they do is take your time and energy from what is really on your path. So we really want students to follow their inner guidance, because we really believe that each one of us have a purpose in this lifetime, and we want to help people fulfill their purpose for being, not somebody else's life's purpose, but their life purpose.
Yeah. One of my mantras is, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no, and
Yeah, exactly. You bet. You bet.
it makes life much simpler, doesn't it? Um, Before, because I wanted you to share the little practice you mentioned earlier as well in a moment, but I'm keen to know what your morning routine looks like. Do you just get up and have a cup of tea, or do you have like all these different processes that come in, or it depends on how you feel? What do you do?
So when I wake up, or when Ron and I wake up, we'll have our coffee or our tea and a small bowl of fruit, and then we'll chat, and then we'll go into this beautiful meditation room we have, and we'll do one of the practices, the running energy, the 6 positions, and then we'll follow it with meditation. And then after the meditation, we'll look at what we're doing that day, and we'll get some greater clarity about something that we're going to be doing that day. And then we'll begin our day.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, would you like to share it with us now, the running energy?
Yeah, I'd love to. So this practice was created by Ron. His higher self. He opened to his higher self, which is how we get so much of the information for the work. And he got this as a wonderful practice for people to do on a daily basis. So it involves a cloud, it involves a grounding cord, and it involves opening to the light. So to begin, just imagine a cloud above your head, a white puffy cloud, clean and fresh, and just release all the tension, all the stress, all the thoughts that are running around in your head. Just breathe and release. Send them up into the cloud. And take another breath, all the thoughts, all that extra mental energy, and breathe and release. Send them up into the cloud. And now take the cloud out the window up to the sun, let it be destroyed and recycled. And then cut your grounding cord under your feet. We all have a grounding cord, or we'd be sailing off into space, so take our word for it. So cut your old grounding cord under your feet and create a brand new grounding cord. Think of the roots from a tree, any color, any texture you wish, and send that grounding cord down from the bottoms of your feet, the bottom of your spine, and send it down through the soil, down through the deeper layers of rock over centuries, down through the tectonic plates, and down into the core of the earth, and anchor down in the core of the earth, and feel the huge power of gravity and magnetism pulling down on your grounding cord, sending it down deeper into the earth. And now bring your awareness back to your torso, starting with your head, and let's release down our grounding cord now, which is releasing at a deeper level than you just released into the cloud. So feel into your neck and your shoulders and your head, and anything that feels tight or tense, breathe and release. Send it down the grounding cord, let it go. And now feel into your chest and your rib cage and your midsection, anything that feels tight or tense in that whole upper torso region, and breathe and release. Use a breath and a sound and a sigh. Let it go. Send it down the grounding cord. Let it be gone. And now your lower torso, your belly, your abdomen, your hips. Feel into that whole lower torso region. And again, anything that feels tight or tense. And breathe and release. Send it down the grounding cord. And now feel into your legs, big thigh muscles, knees and calves. Again, anything that feels tight or tense. And breathe and release. And let it go. And now bring your awareness to above your head and bring in a beautiful divine light right above your head, like our beautiful divine solar sun. See it radiating, see it pulsating. Whatever way you relate to the divine is perfect and fine. See that divine light right above your head. Say hello. And now let's invite the divine light down. Let it wash over your higher self. Open your crown chakra and bring that divine light down through your brain and eyes and jaw and throat, down into your chest. Let it pour down both your arms and hands, palms up. Let the light just flow out of your hands. And bring your awareness now back to your upper chest. Bring that divine light now through your lungs, cleansing and rejuvenating your lungs. So important in this time of the viruses. Clean those lungs, revitalizing them. And bring the divine light now down through your heart, the chambers of your heart, the valves of your heart, down through your breast tissue. And now down through your midsection and lower torso and belly and abdomen and legs and feet down into the grounding cord. And connect again with a divine light above. Just open to the light. Let it pour down through you and over you. And bringing your awareness, the light coming down your head, down your arms and hands. And now put both hands on your heart, your left hand on your physical heart, your right hand on your heart chakra, and run that light from your hands right into your upper chest area. Run that light through, giving your heart a healing. And breathe and open. And just keep breathing and open. Oh, and take a breath and open your eyes. So I did that a little bit faster than we normally do because you have a certain limited time. But did you like that?
I loved it.
Oh, good.
Absolutely loved it.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
Um,
It's
I can see why
magical.
you do
It's
that daily.
magical. It really is magical. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can have stuff going on at work and people are angry or people are whatever. And, you do that and it shifts the energy. One lady who came to the school was an elementary school teacher. And she said she'd go out on the playground and her kids would see some kids fighting. And they said, let's take all that energy into the cloud and send it away. And it empowers children from a very early age to know that they have that ability to shift the energy.
Fantastic. Is that in your book as well?
Yes, it is.
That practice?
Yeah.
It is?
Yeah.
And do you have other techniques and practices for people in there too?
I do. All through the book, there's techniques and practices. And also, so our website for your listeners is onelighthealingtouch.com. And we have a couple MP3s or CDs, and this is on it. So if they get number
Perfect.
one, which is available, most of the things we have are just an MP3, and it has 6 positions and this one and some sound work on it. And the short way to get our website is OLHT and then the number 1.com.
Got
Or
it.
they can print it. Yeah.
I'll link to the show notes anyway. So anyone
thank
listening to this, whether on YouTube or
Thank you.
Spotify, they can just drop down and link to your website to find out more as well. Penny, I got one last question for you before we wrap things up. And that is, with everything we've covered today, is there anything you'd like to leave our listeners to ponder on?
The main thing I would love people to know is that they have the power to change the energy. Nobody has to stay stuck, whether it's depression or sadness, or we all have traumas in our lives. We all have tremendous things that are really challenging for us. We all do, every single person. So have compassion towards yourself. and have compassion towards others and know that you can shift the energy. So it's not a matter of doing something once, but they're called practices because you have to practice them. You must practice them. You don't take one yoga class, you practice it. You have to do the practices. So be mindful and develop different practices that you like. I mean, in the book, there's so many different kinds of things that people can do. They have a variety of many different things. So you can do things on different days, but begin to develop a routine of changing that energy so that you're doing this for you, because as you know, you're doing it for you, but everybody in your life, your family, your children, your community, everybody benefits, because we know that each person each person affects 10 people. And as you change your energy and it becomes more caring or more compassionate and more giving and more peaceful, that affects your world. And those people affect other people. So we're really all so connected if people would realize how deeply connected we are.
100%, 100%. Penny, look, thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing your knowledge and sharing that beautiful little practice with us as well. I'll certainly bring that into my Arsenal toolkit and keep practicing daily and see what happens.
Oh,
But
Guy, thank you. Thank you.
you're welcome. So I'll make sure, like I say, everything's on in the show notes for all the listeners if they want to check out your work more. Be sure to subscribe to Gaia as well and check out the documentary.
Well,
I'm a
it's on
huge
Amazon too. It's on Gaia and
Oh,
Amazon. Yeah, yeah,
and Amazon.
yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Fantastic. So get behind Penny. It's doing phenomenal work, and I just want to thank you personally and for all that you do as well. We know the world needs it right now with everything that's been happening and going on. But
Thank
from
you,
my
Guy, and
experience,
thank you for your work. Thank you for your contribution that you're making in to all of us. Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. I love it. I always grow from them every time I do a podcast, Penny. So it's win-win for everyone. But all the best. Thank you. And we'll catch you soon. Thanks for listening, everyone. The Healing Field.